Good morning. I call the Committee of Supply, Section A, to order and recognize the Minister for Social Development and Social Innovation.
Thank you, Chair. I believe I'm supposed to read vote number 40, resolved that the sum not exceeding $2,593,575,000 be granted to Her Majesty to defray the expenses of the Ministry of Social Development and Social Innovation, Ministry Operations.
Thank you, Minister. Do you have an opening statement?
I do, thank you. So I'd just like to take a moment. As many of you know, this is my first estimates, and I'm delighted to be here today, but I'd like to take a moment to introduce my staff that's joining me today. To my right, I have my Deputy Minister, Sheila Taylor, and to my left, Len Dawes, the ADM and Executive Financial Officer, Corporate Services Division. Behind me, I have Molly Harrington, to my right, who is the ADM Research, Innovation and Policy Division. And to my left, beside her, is Patricia Boyle, the Acting ADM for Regional Services Division. So as I mentioned, this is my first estimates, and I look forward to the discussions that we'll have over the next few days. I know that this government is committed to balance the budget while ensuring that we support those individuals in British Columbia that need the assistance most. And that's why we're providing $2.6 billion a year to support British Columbians in every community across this province. That's almost $64 million more than last year. As we know, British Columbia has a solid income and disability assistance system that serves approximately 175,000 people across British Columbia. And this year's budget to support people receiving income and disability assistance is $1.71 billion. We know the importance of family maintenance and families and children receiving income and disability assistance, and that's why we are fully exempting child support payments from income and disability assistance starting September 1st of 2015. I know the member opposite was a strong advocate, as well as the families across British Columbia, and I'm pleased that we are able to make this change. This will provide an additional $32 million for 3,200 families and 5,400 children across the province over the next 3 years. While I'm pleased that we are able to provide this additional support for single parents on income assistance, we know that the best social assistance program for those who can work is a good paying job that provides people with the independence and the opportunity to find a job and work for British Columbia. That is why this government introduced Work BC Employment Services in April of 2012, which is a key component for the employment program of British Columbia. The Work BC centers are available to help people find a job and keep a job, including those people who are on income assistance who can work. The ministry will provide $331 million for the employment program of British Columbia in budget 2015. The majority of those supports will go to the 84 Work BC centers across the province. And if I may just touch briefly on Community Living BC, I know we'll be going forward those estimates later this afternoon. For people with developmental disabilities, the budget for 2015 provides an additional $37.7 million for Community Living BC, which is an increase of 4.7% over the last fiscal year. Over the next 3 years, an additional $106 million has been allocated to Community Living BC to support people with developmental disabilities. The ministry transfers to CLBC's base budget are increasing $834.3 million in 2015-2016, which is an increase of $37.7 million over the last fiscal year. This government remains committed to funding the critical social services for the people of this province. We do this by providing temporary assistance to those who find themselves in a situation where they can work and those who are in need of longer-term aid for those who have a more difficult time in working or who unfortunately can't get into the workforce. By doing this, our government is ensuring that the needs of all British Columbians are being respected, and I fully look forward to the coming questions in the next few hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Member Nelson Creston.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. And first, let me say welcome to the position to the Minister. I had an opportunity to welcome her via Twitter, but I think that this occasion, putting it officially on the record is more appropriate, and I look forward to having a dialogue with the minister over the next couple of days. I also always like to welcome viewers at home, as well as the staff and other members here in what we call the Little House. You would be shocked to hear this, Honourable Chair, but I've had a few constituents let me know that they've watched this, and they reported that it wasn't the most entertaining show that they had ever seen. It's shocking. All the MLAs who are sitting here right now are expressing shock at that. So I will do my best to pick it up a little bit and provide a little bit more of an entertaining yet still very informative and substantive estimates debate here over the next couple of days. As the minister alluded to, we'll be heading into the CLBC portion of the ministry later this afternoon. We were hoping to start that off, so apologies to viewers who are at home and actually anticipating that this would be a time where they could watch what's happening with the CLBC portion of the ministry. Unfortunately, due to fog, we will be shifting our schedule around a little bit, and to my colleague, the MLA from Vancouver Mount Pleasant, and to all the staff who are presently stuck in Vancouver, I understand what it is to be cancelled, being from Nelson and relying on Castlegar Airport. I feel your pain as you are waiting to get on a plane and get here. We'll also be talking about a variety of different things throughout the ministry, and that's because, as anybody knows who has to deal with this ministry on a daily basis, whether it's staff or, of course, the thousands of clients, the devil is in the details when it comes to social development and how we actually deliver the services that we are meant to be delivering to improve and better people's lives. And so we'll be talking about a variety of different issues, including the employment program at BC, as well as income assistance, and people will be able to tune in for that over the next couple of days. And I do want to say that we will also be going into some detail around the end of the child support clawback, which of course I'm very pleased to have seen in this year's budget. And I'll just let the minister know, and everybody here and everybody watching, that some of the best phone calls I've ever been able to make, and probably will ever be able to make as a member of this House, was to families who were impacted and who I'd been working with on the clawback. And when I called up one woman, one mother, and said, on September 1st, you're going to get to keep your child support, and she started to cry. She burst into tears, because for her, that meant that she knew she could send her daughter to school every day with a full belly. And that means she was going to be able to learn better, do better in school. And we all know when somebody is able to do better in school, it opens a wide variety of opportunities up for children who otherwise may not have had those opportunities. So for 6,000, roughly 6,000 children each year, those are the type of opportunities that this government, that we as a whole of everybody in this legislature, are opening up for some of BC's most disadvantaged children. And I thank the government for listening to what we brought forward in the legislature as opposition, what families brought forward out on the steps of the legislature, whether they wrote in or various community groups writing in, speaking to the media, sharing their story, because it takes great courage to share your story when you're living in poverty. There's a lot of stigma associated with that, and I thank the government for listening to that, taking it seriously, and taking action. So with that, I'll move into my first question, and these are more of an administrative type of questions. So the previous minister was issued a mandate letter by the Premier. I have not been able to track down if there's been a mandate letter for the new minister that's been put out to the public. Apologize if there is one and I missed it in my research. But I'm just wondering if the minister has herself received a mandate letter from the Premier, and if she has, if she's able to table that.
Minister.
Not, and when I do have it in my hands, I would be pleased to share it with the member opposite.
Member.
Thank you, Chair. And so I'm just wondering then if she is working from the existing mandate letter to the previous minister, seeing that more as a mandate letter for the ministry as a whole, regardless of who's in the ministerial position.
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. To the member opposite, we continue to work off the previous minister's mandate letter and build on the significant changes that he's already accomplished through that mandate letter, and we'll see if I get another one.
Member.
Thank you, Chair. And so just looking at the federal funding that's transferred to the ministry, primarily that goes to the employment programs. I'm just wondering if the minister can just relay for the public viewing the total of that federal transfer, and if it is only going to the employment programs or if there are other federal transfers.
Minister.
Thank you, Chair, and to the member opposite. There is $301 million that is transferred through the labour market agreement through the federal government, and that is for the employment programs of BC.
Member.
And that's it, just to clarify, that's the only, yeah, okay. So then I'm wondering if the ministry received Treasury Board approval for access to the contingencies and new programs vote, if they received any of that for this year.
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. For income assistance and persons with a disability assistance, the contingency access is available if needed.
Member.
So did the ministry access the contingencies budget in the previous fiscal year?
Minister.
Does the member refer to 1314 or 1415?
For the sake of public interest, why not we ask for both years?
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. To the member, for 1314, yes, we did access it. For 1415, it's very likely that we will access it.
Member.
Can the minister say the amount that was accessed for the year that she confirmed for 2013-14 and the anticipated amount for the just last fiscal for 2014-15?
Minister.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we don't have the information for 1314 here. We'd be happy to provide it to the member opposite in the coming weeks, days. I don't know how long that takes to get the information to her. But in regards to 2014, 2015, we will likely access the amount of probably under $20 million, but that amount will be made public during the public accounts when that's released later in the late spring.
Member.
Can the minister tell us for what the contingency was accessed then? So we're looking at approximately $20 million, a significant sum. So just wondering where that's going.
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. To the member, all the funds, should they be accessed, will go to income assistance.
Member.
Thank you. Is this because of an increase in the number of clients that Was it not anticipated in the budgeting for last fiscal?
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. The additional costs were from the added pressure on disability assistance and the supplemental supports that come with disability assistance. As you can imagine, the extra needs for people with disability increases cost.
Member.
Thank you. That answers the question. So I'm just wondering if there are any ongoing reviews within the ministry, and if they have any reviews that have been completed in the last 6 months.
Minister.
Thank you. There are one completed and one ongoing. The completed review is the Auditor General review on the PWD programs that we offer, and the ongoing review is on the ICM, the Integrated Case Management System, which is focused on system access controls and data quality.
Member.
When does the minister anticipate that the ICM report will be, or review will be completed and made public?
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. We understand that the review is almost complete, and the Auditor General's office would need to be talked to. I'll have to discuss with them when it will actually be complete. It will be up to the Auditor General to table it in the House.
Member.
So the minister talked about this, that the Auditor General is doing this report on the ICM being a review, but I'm also wondering about audits. I don't know if this would be considered an audit, considering it's coming out of the Auditor General. So I'm just wondering, so yes, it is considered an audit. Are there any other official audits that are being done of the ministry at this time?
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. There are two normal annual audits going on. One is the normal fiscal audit that's going on for 14-15, as well as the annual audit for the Labour Market Development Agreement, which is conducted by the federal government.
Member.
Going back to the audit on ICM, because there's been quite a lot of trouble with ICM and its implementation, I think that we can all acknowledge that that has been the case. And you know, there's always troubles with rolling out an entirely new computer system for a ministry as large as this one, and we all understand that. But these have been quite exceptional as on top of that as well. So I'm just wondering if those issues and those problems are the reason for the current audit that's being undertaken on ICM.
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. The simple answer is no.
Member.
What then is the reason for the audit?
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I believe when you spend $182 million on a significant project like this, you would expect to have an audit. And this audit was started in October of 2013, and its focus was on user management and data quality management.
Member.
Right. So then my next question just involves asset sales, and if there are any asset sales from the ministry within this ministry budget, and if there were any asset sales conducted in the last fiscal year, so 2014, 2015.
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. To the member opposite, we actually don't have any asset sales and reflected in this budget. Our real estate is actually managed through the Ministry of Technology, Innovation and Citizen Services.
Member.
Thank you. I'm wondering then how much was spent on contractors providing services to the ministry in the last fiscal year, and we all know that the ministry contracts the employment services to community organizations and various businesses. So if the minister can just give us a total.
Member.
Thank you. It just dawned on me I should actually add a little bit more clarity to the question. So as I know that there's several contractors for the EPBC programs, but wondering if there are other contractors as well. There are contractors in income assistance and so on. So what are the total number of contractors in the various sections of the ministry that, so that's what I'm looking for. The minister still looks like she's not too sure what I'm saying.
Are you asking about number of people?
Yes, yeah. So if we can get the budget line items for each area of contracting. So for example, the ministry has, they contract service or contractors that provide service on behalf of the ministry and income assistance as well as employment programs. There might be other areas that maybe I'm not aware of, so the public's not aware of. So if the minister can highlight those areas where there are contractors and the number of contractors and the total budget for those contractors. Sorry about that.
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Through our Employment BC's employment programs of BC, we have 73 contracts. The total for that is $277.6 million in contracts. As well, through Income Assistance, our provincial program delivery service, there's 183 contracts with an expended amount of $204.3 million.
Minister, noting the hour.
Thank you, Chair. Noting the hour, Honourable Chair, I move that the committee rise and report progress and ask leave to sit again.
You've all heard the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
He stands adjourned.